Hello everyone, my name is Stacey K. Roach and I'm here with you guys today on a new episode of the Rebrand and Rebuilding Community. I'm here with you guys today with a guest star on my show by the name of Flo. I'll let him introduce himself and we'll jump right in. Thanks.
I talk to people and I don't teach anything. I thought when I started that I just have to figure out my own problems and figure out how I want to live life, and then I just teach everybody else and the world will be a better place. And then I found out that ain't working because most people are different. So I specialize in asking questions.
Okay, you specialize in asking questions and getting people to basically answer their own questions. Is that what you do?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you start with a very simple question, and at the same time, for most people, the hardest question: who is it that you want to have been?
With the life that you're living, correct? Say if you died tomorrow, what?
No. If you die tomorrow, or if you die in 50 years, who is it that you want to have been? Because for most people, they are not dying now.
Yes.
So when you ask who do you want to have been, that's something completely different than to ask who do you want to be.
Yes.
It's basically the same question, but as soon as I focus on what do I want to do tomorrow, I also come up with a lot of reasons why it's not possible. Because I have to go to work, because I don't like my boss, because I need money, whatsoever. But if you look at from a different perspective, so you say, who do you want to have been? Imagine that one day, 20, 30, 40 years, whenever, you look back at your life, who do you want to have been? Because if you look at your own life in the rear view, then, well, there are no limitations because you don't have to do this. And if you come up with a question, who you want to have been, then that is a magic answer for yourself. Because from that you can, well, draw back to now and say, well, what's the tiny step that I can do tomorrow? And then you're on the right path.
Yes. I understand that question. Like I said, I am a life coach, but my reason for becoming and doing what I do is to help people become more in alignment with who they are. Exactly what you said. I don't want to teach you anything. I can't show you how to make millions of dollars, which I probably could, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to make you a success when it comes to riches and wealth. I'm here to make you a success when it comes within yourself. Helping you, we have a lot of people that are talented, and I want to show people, I want to basically turn the light within and show them that, you have all this talent, you have this gift, you can use it for the better. You can use it to better your life, to better yourself. Not only for you, but for your family, for your friends, for, your work colleagues, for your church community group, just for the community all on its own. So I'm here to help you be you. I can't teach you, like I said, I can't teach you the secrets to life, but I can teach you the secret to yourself. And that's just opening it up and start trusting your intuition from within. Like I said, we have a lot of people. My podcast is based off, overcoming some type of tragedy, some type of disaster, even divorce and homelessness, such as myself. But not everyone goes through divorce and homelessness, but everyone has a tragedy or a disaster that happens to them in their life in some way, shape, or form. So, and it all starts with you. It all starts from within. Whether you allow people to hurt and harm you, whether you allow people to take from you, it starts with you. It's something within you that is allowing people to take advantage of you in a way that you can't fathom, in a way that you probably would never, something that you would never do. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here to show you how you choose and decide the people that you bring into your life. You choose and get to decide who you work with, who you choose not to work with. Now, I know we all have jobs and we all have to deal with people that we don't really necessarily want to deal with. They're a part of our team. They're a part of the company. But you have to find a way to deal with your inner demons and your inner self so you can be able to deal with them. Because once you know how to control your emotions and your anger, and once you know how to control you, no one can pull you from that. No one can make you say, you go down a path that you don't want to go down, regardless of who that's with. You have the right, you have the choice, so it's up to you, and that's what I'm here to do. So yes, we spoke when we on our meet and greet about, you traveling the world, you becoming an adventurer. So what made you start on that journey? Like, how did you get there?
Would you allow me to go back one step? Because some things
completely
that you mentioned over there. And I want to point out the similarities, because you said it's about who you are, and I said it's about who you want to have been. And in the end, that's the same.
Yeah.
And I just recorded a podcast for myself with a very interesting guest, and he said, well, there is the I am who I am, and there is the I am who I think I am.
Yes.
And he said, well, everything is just a picture. It's just an image that we have in our head about reality. And the image that he was using was that we create a second self during our first 2 years, because we hear so many no's in our life, and a no is disconnecting us from the people we love, from society, and all of a sudden the second me is trying to protect us. And what I found difficult with somebody who's stuck at a place where they don't want to be is that if I ask them, who do you want to be, this second me is answering. And what the answer that I get is who they think that they are supposed to be. And so often, exactly that is what is driving us into the misery, because there's our mind, our head that is telling me, you should do that, you ought to do this, you have to do this to please your parents, to please your family, to please society, you have to get the job.
It's the American dream.
Yes. So in the American dream, since looking from the outside, is you just have to hook the people as early as possible on as much debt as possible, so that they never stop running the wheel like the hamster. So,
agreed.
So this is why I choose this different question, because what like, if it's our soul, our true self, however you want to call it, very often, especially if people are in trance, meditation, or hypnosis, they have a feeling of who they really are, and then they don't show it in the outer world. And as I said about getting people hooked on what you have to achieve, that's a very easy way of keeping people like in the line, keep them working. And what I did not know back then, on the one hand, I had this second me very strongly. I tried to please the expectations that I thought other people have of me, number one. And number two, because I tried so hard, I wanted to fill up my life with, I wanted to fill it up with joy. But because I didn't know what I wanted in the first place, I filled it up with a lot of clutter. Yeah. Emotional clutter, wrong people, wrong stuff, wrong focus. Most of my life was distracting me from who I really wanted to be. And being successful or being wealthy is not about having everything, but having everything that you need.
Yes.
And if you don't know what you need, it's not going to be better if you fill it up with stuff you didn't want in the first place.
Right, because you don't really know what it is that you want. Like you said, with your parents, your spouse, the world, society, they tell you, you're supposed to get married, or go to college, get a job. You didn't, as a young kid, we're groomed to take on those responsibilities, especially if you grew up in organized religion. I grew up in Christianity, and you're not supposed to have children before marriage, and you're supposed to get married, have the family, and then, they didn't even teach us about going to college. And for women, in back in the days, college wasn't a thing for women. It was mostly for men to be, head of their households, to provide the stability for their wife and their children. So now we have more women that are saying, you know what, I don't want to get married. I want to go to college. I want to travel the world. I want this career. But now they're living for themselves because they see that the society's goals or the world's goals, your parents' goals is not their goals, but they take that in and they start to, like you said, they fill their lives with clutter, with things they don't need. And I was one of them. I got married because I thought that was the right thing to do. I had kids outside of wedlock, so I was like, okay, I have to marry this man because we have children. Like, I'm going to go to hell if I don't marry this man. But that was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Like, we had our children or a child before we got married, and then we got married and had another child. I thought that was the right way to go about it, and it wasn't. And it ended up leaving me in a position of being homeless and going through the divorce, and now I'm divorced. So I'm actually glad you kind of backed me up a little bit from getting too ahead of myself, because like I said, we didn't really go into details on how people even come about to say, this is who I am. You are who you are because of who. Is that something that you chose? Is that the right path that you want to go down? Or is that what someone told you that's the life you're supposed to live? Is that how you feel in your heart, in your soul, So I agree.
And so often there are two voices in our head. So I can recall when I was younger, when I was in my teens, I had dreams of places I want to see in the world, of a person I want to be. I want to travel. I want to be an adventurer. And I wanted to be successful with all of that.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I also knew that this is not a career. This is not what you ought to do. I was, well,
that was the logical you thinking.
I was blessed and doomed at the same time with being one of the smartest kids in class all of the time, which led to me never working for school, because I either understood it right away or I didn't care anyway. So I knew I have to go to university. I have to get my degrees. And I didn't know what. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to go out. But I have to go to university. So what did I do? I did what I have to do.
Yep.
And then I failed. Because I got so bored at university that I started a business on the side. I had to work so much that I failed a class 3 times. Then they kicked me out. So then I said, okay, I have to try another way to get my degree. And then I moved to a different city, and then basically the whole thing started all over again. And then I needed some more money, so I worked more, and then I got the promotion, and then I got stuck in that job, and they paid me well, and I was quite good at it. It was a headhunt in the financial industry, and I thought, okay, well, now I'm just going to be successful so that I prove it to everybody else. And once I'm rich and famous and I have all the money I ever want, then I will finally do what I love doing. And in the process, I forgot what I love doing. And I ended up being married, having my penthouse style in Berlin, wooden chimney in the living room, view over Berlin, sauna in the bathroom, and my wife hated it because it was 5 stories up. And so there's always something for and against it, and we ended up not matching at all, because what she wanted was the life that I was, well, so to say, faking.
Yeah.
Because I was faking it to become known for that, so that I can leave it. And
but she wanted it. She wanted to stay. She loved it.
She wanted a husband who is exactly that.
Yes.
So she pushed me. Then she started pushing me. Before, it was my decision. I wanted to do that so that I can turn my back on it. But then I was pushed. All of a sudden, I felt locked. Then the financial crisis hit, 2008. We started fighting, and I asked myself, why? because the people I work with, they made millions, the people I placed. And all of a sudden, they were out of a job and they called me back. Me being not even 30, them being 50, and they felt as miserable as I did, although that they made millions. But on the other hand, they had a couple of millions debt.
Yeah.
So I made less money than them, and I feared to lose that. And they feared to lose $1 million because they needed to pay off the house. They needed to pay off the second house, or the cars, or the boat, and the first wife. Yeah. Because after the divorce, they had to pay for that. And they were miserable as well. And all of a sudden, they asked me for advice. And that was the moment when I thought, maybe people don't need career advice. Mm-hmm. Maybe people need more soul advice, but yes. I wasn't brave enough to call it that back then, because I still thought, I'm doing the coaching, so I'm doing career coaching, then I'm doing career advice, and then I'm doing company trainings, because, well, if this is a real job, then it has to sound like a real job. I didn't want to call it some spiritual. You gotta
make it make sense.
Finding stuff, and I thought nobody's going to give me any real money for this. This is for people who don't have money. They're in soul searching. But I still wanted to be rich and famous. So even though I went on my own path, I wasn't there yet, and I still made wrong decisions. But because I took that path, I attended a couple of trainings, and I wanted to do these trainings so that I can teach my coachees how to live a better life. And while taking these classes, I realized, maybe I'm my best client.
Right? You start with yourself, so yeah.
And they forced me to reconnect with my heart. Well, and I'm not sure what your listeners are like, but it doesn't really matter what wordings we give to it.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a very scientific way, then the human body is a wonderful machine, and we are able to process millions of information, and from about 10 million pieces of information per second, our smart brain, our frontal cortex, is about to process 10 out of 10 million.
Yep.
And everything else is filtered down and treated on an automated basis. This is like our ancestry brain, and this doesn't think, it just reacts. But it tries to protect us. And very often, deep inside of us, we have this very basic structure that tells us where to go. But we can make it shut up with our brain. So if you call it brain and heart, or mind and soul, or conscious and
intuition,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yes. from Christianity, or from a spiritual standpoint, people intuition or your inner being, but correct.
Yes. And there are numerous ways to connect this and to describe it, and you could even bring God into play and find a completely different way of describing it.
Yeah.
So I still am a bit science driven. So I explain it to people that everybody can understand it. Whether you don't need to believe in something to understand. How is it possible that two people go to the same meeting, and afterwards being interviewed, they are saying the opposite about the same meeting?
Because it's the way we perceive it to be. So yeah, we walking, like you said, walking down the road, and we seeing the same things, but I see something different than what you see. But it's all, like you said, it's our brain. It's all the way we perceive, or our perspective of the world, or what's in front of us at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, you're seeing the same. But you recognize something different.
Yes.
So what happened to me is the more I felt what I wanted, the more I separated from my job, from my life, and from my ex-wife, and this led to a lot of struggle. And then some things happened, and I thought I reached a point where I completely screwed up everything. Everything that I was meant to do. So I was 30. Yeah, it was the time from 30 to 32. I screwed up my dreams because I wasn't living the life that I dreamed of when I was younger. I screwed up my career because I, never managed to get back on track after the financial crisis, because I didn't want to work for another finance-driven company. I screwed up my family life because my wife hated me. I screwed up the living situation because I didn't have enough money for that. I missed to pay taxes for 2 years, and all of a sudden the tax collector was ringing. So I was I thought I lost everything, and that was a moment where I thought, okay, now it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter how much I misbehave now. I cannot screw up any further. And maybe you can tell me how I could have screwed any further. It was a feeling in the head. I thought, okay, now you're worthless. Now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now you can do what you ever wanted to do. And then I was sitting in a cafe in Berlin, summer, beautiful weather, and I had no idea what to do. And that was the moment where I thought, okay, if you don't know what to do, then you need to find out. And I kept asking these questions more and more and more and more. And then, I found a new job. I did more coaching. We separated. And on the long run, I realized that something I wanted to do since I was little is going on an adventure and write about this. And then I decided, and then I wrote down everything that I could, kayaking somewhere, swimming somewhere, running somewhere, and I ended up with the idea to run on a solo foot walk in the Saharan desert for 4 weeks.
Wow.
And guess what? I failed. So I made it to Sahara, and during the preparation I realized I'm super scared in the dark, and I'm super scared on my own. So the moment that I really left the last village, then there was no real GPS, so I never knew exactly where I was. I just had to ask people in a language I didn't understand, and I made it for over a week on my own. And my feet were bloody. And somebody passed, and for some reason they were some really cool people from Berlin in Germany, and then they took me with them with their old converted truck, and we drove another 1,500 miles to Western Sahara, and it was the adventure of my life.
Wow. But you started, like you said, you sat in that cafe and you asked yourself, it were many questions like, what is it that I want to do? And you sitting down and taking the time to write that list is what led you to that adventure. Even though when you got there, it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go. But it still led you to the position where you are today. Because you know what? Because I haven't really done any ventures, but soon after the separation started and my divorce process, I took a job. I left my apartment. I left everything behind, and I moved what I could take to the new job. It was a live-in job for I had a patient. I do home health care. But I ended up working that job literally 2 weeks, and I got fired from the job. The lady, she liked me, but she had lawyers and everybody that were paying me. So they were trying to get her to cut her budget from, she was spending a lot of money. So she decided, well, I'll just cut the home health care, the aid. And I was like, wait, that's my position. That's my job. I have nowhere to go. Like, I left everything behind for that job. I had no car, no house, no anything. All I had was the car that I drove in town with. I ended up sleeping in that car for about 2 months until I found another job. Just to have some money in my hands, but that was the start of my process. It was me taking the leap of faith to even leave everything behind to go after what I really wanted. Even though that job, it wasn't what I really wanted. The city is where I really wanted to be. And I really wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. That job was going to be something in the meantime until I can figure it out. It just didn't happen that way. I ended up losing the job within 2 weeks of being there. So I had to figure out on my own, like, what in the hell am I going to do? Like I said, I slept in my car. I had to take wash-ups in we have convenience stores. We have truck stops in that part of South Carolina. So I was going in there with the truckers and having to wash up like I was a trucker. But I did what I had to do. And like you said, along the way, someone ended up finding me out of the blue and was like, hey, I need help with my business. Can you do this and can you do that? And I was like, you know what? I can do that. Like it started from that point on, like I said, me taking the leap of faith with everything failing around me, which I thought it was failing, but it was actually setting me up for a better position. It was actually setting me on the path that I really needed to go down. So if it wasn't for all those twists and turns and the divorce and the heartache, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I'm sitting right now. And that's here talking to you. So I agree. I can relate.
And sometimes it's the best that can happen.
You don't think about it like that because you're like, what the hell? Like, I have nothing, no money, no car, no clothes, no anything. Like, what am I going to do? But like you said, it sets you up for better. And you have to, like you said, it's all about your brain. It's all about how you perceive your outcome to be. So, yeah.
When I was alone in Sahara, and everything that I had there was in my backpack, and then I traveled even longer than I planned because I traveled with these other folks all the way to the coast, and then I left them again and I continued by foot, and all of a sudden I realized I have everything I need. And that was a moment that was so liberating because all of a sudden I realized, no, I don't need a house. I don't need a job. I don't need to have a lot of clothes. And that gave me, it connected me for the first time in years with my heart.
With your inner self, What you truly wanted out of life, and that was adventure, and you got exactly.
And I wanted to have. The moment I felt this, I wanted more of this, and then later with my new girlfriend, we decided at some time to just give up our house and convert a real old RV and what was about 50 years old Mercedes-Benz, and we went all the way to Sahara again. So we lived in it basically for a year.
You know what they call those now? They call them sprinter vans, where you take and convert the old van into like a living house. Some of them have little showers. I actually want to invest in one day because I've been doing the hotel thing, but I'm eventually says to save money and to really live the life that I want to live. That I know that's something that I'm going to eventually have to do. So I'm going to do it. But I admire you guys doing that.
Go for it if you know what you really want. And the funny thing was, after we moved into the RV, we realized we don't need most of the stuff we took with us, so we got rid of a lot. And all the equipment that we bought when we moved in was stuff that we didn't need down the road because we were by ourselves, and the focus shifted. So that led me to going on vacation to East Africa, and I had the opportunity to start helping somebody to build a room for guests. And I got involved for altogether 4 years, and we built a hotel from scratch at the beach, the tropical beach, just because I wasn't afraid anymore. And everybody I told this, they said, "Oh, this is crazy." And well, guess what? I failed. This guy, we built the house, we built the lodge until it was a running business. And then my business partner, he corrupted the police. And then they said that the limited contract was faked, and all the government stamps that they said that I corrupted the government so that I got the stamps, and so they took it away from me. And now it's like 5 years ago, and the court decision is still pending because the judge wanted me to pay $5,000 on his private account before he opens the case. So, but nevertheless, because I lost the fear, I can see the good things out of this. Yeah. And because we talked about divorce, that was the most frustrating time in my life. And if I were again in a situation like this, I would change my decisions and my behavior way earlier. Yeah. But and that is something that might be something quite interesting for your listeners. It's the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
If it had been a little bit better, it would have just been mediocre for the rest of my life. And I was like my friends or my former friends that are just living the life and complaining that I am so lucky right now.
Right, so lucky. But like you said, with your wife, she wasn't a bad person. She was a great person. She just wasn't the person for you. And that's exactly kind of what I went through. I mean, like you said, she said a little bit. Well, my ex-husband, he wasn't the worst. He was not the worst. And I've learned so much from him. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him. He was someone, like I said, we were kind of kids together, and growing up into adulthood and having children with each other, we kind of came entwined. We were like family. Even before we married, we were like family. And that man showed me so much love that I didn't even get from my family, and that's why I stuck with them for so long. But like you said, out of fear and out of now, I'm not going to say I didn't know what I want. I knew what I wanted, but I was settling. I felt like, well, this is a good guy, and he's showing me love, and he's doing everything for me, but it really wasn't where my heart was. We have beautiful children out of that situation, but he wasn't the man for me, and I wasn't the woman for him. So I really hope he could I hope he could speak, highly of me the way I am of him. But I know, everybody takes things differently. He didn't really want a divorce. I pushed for the divorce. Just, it wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted to live. I knew I could do better. I knew I could do more. I'm not saying that I was better than him. I just knew I was better than the person that I was when I was with him. I wasn't the best person. I made a lot of messed up, mistakes. I was growing. I was a young girl having, children at an early age, dropping out of school and then having to go back to school. It was a lot, but it was something. It was a process. It was the journey that I had to take. And like I said, that just wasn't the man for me. That wasn't the relationship that I wanted to be in. We kind of brought a lot of the worst out of each other, Sometimes you meet a person and you click with them, but not on it was toxic, not on a good, it wasn't a great connection. We mostly connected off of fear, off of drama, it was toxic. It was all the wrong things that brought us together and not the right things. And it took me a long time to get him out of my system, over 12 years. Like, I really did not want to leave him. And towards the end, even though we had a separation and he was like, oh, you can go ahead and move out the house, I really didn't want to leave. I didn't have to leave. I just said, you know what? I was actually happy he said it first, because if he wouldn't have said it, I would have still been in that situation. I was afraid. I was afraid of being better. I was afraid of my own potential and success that I knew I could accomplish.
Well, I heard you. This is I can't say that about my ex. She turned out to be pretty evil. So that was hell on earth. Psychological hell you cannot imagine. And in combination to that, she became mentally sick. So on the one hand, hating somebody. On the other hand, every time that you come home, the light is turned off. You think that somebody's lying there with a cut open throat. So that was my feeling for quite a while.
Oh God.
And even afterwards, there's my son involved, and she remarried somebody being that rich and famous that she wanted, an ambassador, and that ambassador kicked me out of my son's life. They forbid him to call me daddy anymore. They blocked me. They told him a different story. They said no, he's the one who was always there. And so playing with a different life, or including a different life, or fighting on their back, I think that is quite evil. And the guy in Zanzibar, he turned out to be a huge liar and playing behind my back for at least a year or even longer, and just planning for that, to take everything that they can.
Yeah.
So looking back at these two people, it was, and this might be. So if you are listening to this now and you say, oh, the one, I can understand, it's just me, I'm not the best version here, then become a better version.
Yeah, become a better version. You can choose to be better.
Yeah.
It's all about choice.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say, everyone, I feel like we all have it in us to be evil, or if you want to say an angel, we all have it in us to be good or bad, and it's up to you to decide which one you want to be that day or in that moment or that time. And I said, my ex-husband wasn't all, he wasn't the best, it's just, I kept it from getting ugly, because it was a lot of times throughout the separation process. Like I said, he didn't even want a divorce at first, and then he started getting real nasty, and he was being petty. He was hurt. His feelings was hurt, and I understood. Yeah, so instead of letting him get the best of me, which, like I said, when he put me out the house, I had nothing. I lived in my car, so I had to rebuild from scratch, and that was kind of hard for me, because when he and I got together, he had nothing, and I helped him build everything that he had. So for you to take everything that I gave you and leave me with nothing when I'm the one that helped you get it, that was hard for me. That was difficult. And I was angry for a long time. But then I was like, you know what? I'm the one that helped him get to where he was. And not only that, I got me to where I needed to be. So if I did it once, I could do it again. So I knew he didn't destroy me. He thought he was going to destroy me. He thought putting me out the house and leaving me homeless and broke, he thought that was going to destroy me, but it really helped me become who I needed to be. It really helped me open my eyes.
So for everybody listening, if you feel either the version 1 or the version 2 of today's podcast, it's still in your own hands. And even if you realize that the other person is at the moment the worst thing that could possibly happen to you in your life, it's still a big chance, because you realize it. Yeah. And you can change that. You can change. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
I like that. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. It's up to you who you decide to let in your life and your personal space or not. So you can try. You can change.
And even if you suffer a lot from that, there is also a good side. Everything that happens has two sides of the medal.
Yep.
So when you are focusing on everything evil that is happening to you, and it doesn't matter whether it's abusive, it's the parents, it's the family, it's the partner, it's the job, it's the boss, ask yourself, what is your chance in that? Because that's the first way of shifting your attention. I find this very often when people struggle in the job context. Then they ask, why do I have this problem? And this is like, why is this evil person with me? Why is this always happening to me? And your unconscious mind or your heart is coming up with answers that's protecting you. So it's giving you reasons why this is happening to you and not your own fault, because it wants to keep you safe. And the moment that you ask yourself, well, what is the chance out of this? What can I learn out of this? And how compared to why? Why is it happening? How can I turn this into something good?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, your unconscious mind will still analyze the same situation, but it's showing you the opportunities. And as I said earlier, we have this filter which is filtering like 1/1,000,000th down. So most of the information that your body is receiving all of the time is missing to your conscious brain. So when you ask, why is this happening to me? The only information that is getting through are the reasons that are happening to you. When you ask yourself, how could I turn it into something positive? You will see the chances there are, and that is what empowers you.
Yes. And I want to also say, before we get out of here, I want to add on to what you said. Like when you said you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. A lot of us stay in things because, like I said, the way we were brought up, growing up with organized religion, with our parents or society. But you get to decide who you want in your life or not want in your life. And sometimes when you love someone, it's hard. When you are truly in love with someone, you only can see what you want to see. So you have these blinders on. Love is blind. You only have the potential of what that person could be, and you know what, they could do so much better. He can love me or she can love me more. But if they're not showing you that in their actions, you need to let that person go. And I'm sorry, sometimes it's family members, sometimes it's your spouse, sometimes it's your job, and a lot of times it's what's within us. Because even if you are in a toxic relationship, if you leave that one toxic person, chances are you're going to end up running into another toxic person. It's something within you that keep choosing those type of people, and you can't connect with someone because you both had death in the family, or you guys connected because you both dated narcissists, and you can kind of relate to that. But you don't want to relate to someone and just connect with someone on the toxic and bad things. You want to connect and relate to someone on the positive, I went to college here. Oh, so did I. And you know what, make it more so about what you truly feel deep down inside, and not just what you've been through and what hurts you. Because like I said, a lot of times we get with these people or these jobs, and they trigger us in ways that a lot of times we have hurt built up inside of us. A lot of times we've been through hell, so all we know is hell. So we're gonna, as soon as we see another place of hell, we're gonna go and walk and go get right to that place, instead of saying, you know what, that may not be what's best for me, even though that's what I'm used to, even though that's all I know. I don't have to choose that. I can choose something better. I can decide, like you said, I can decide today to live a better life. It's all about the choices you make, and you don't have to base your life off what someone else wants you to do, especially if it's not truly what's in your heart, from your soul, deep down in your intuition, your inner being, your brain, your mind, however you wanna place it. Yeah. You don't have to choose the people in your life for certain reasons, and you also have the right to choose who you want and who you don't want. So listen, we've been on here for a while, you guys, but I want to get ready to get out of here. I'm going to let you introduce yourself one last time, and if you can give them your website, so if they want to come and talk to you, because it may be a lot of things that I can't help them with that you can. And that'll be great if you can, they can come on and talk to you. If they like what they heard today and they want to ask you some more questions, things that I didn't get to, they can come to you and they can ask you directly. So you can give your email address or your website. That'll be perfect. Social media, whatever you want to give them.
Well, as most people are listening, I'm just giving one piece of information, which sums up to like the theme of my life. It's not the complicated things that make you happy. It's the simple things. So once you get rid of all the distraction in your life, you can find out who you want to be. Mm-hmm. This is why I call my website the simplicityofhappiness.com. So if you just look for Simplicity of Happiness and Flow, you will find me, and then you will find all this social media stuff and all the distraction that you don't need in the first place.
Right.
So just look for Simplicity of Happiness and Flow, and you'll find podcast videos, website.
Thank you again, Flo, for coming on with us and sharing your story and just giving us a little bit more about you and how you got started and why and how you are where you are today. So thank you. And I will look to talking to you again. I'll actually send you a copy of this video, or I also did a recording on Anchor too. So I'll send you all the information for that when I edit and publish. So thank you.
Yes, I link it.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, I'm going to bed soon.
What time is it there where you are?
Oh, now it's 8.
8 p.m. Okay.
Yeah. So it's dark for 2 hours now. Okay.
Well, like I say, we just around 1 p.m. over here in Texas. I'm in Donna, Texas at the moment with one of the companies that I work for. So I'm excited to have this opportunity. So thank you once again.
Well, have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
You too.